All right. Thanks for tuning in to Reds and Blue State Podcast. It's July 8th. I'm here with Ty, and we have a few topics to discuss here today. So, Ty, the senator was here early week, and the police did. It was 3 years out of date. It needed 60 grand, so dated Riot Gear. And some people weighed on the topic and said that police don't deserve new Riot Gear because it causes intimidation, and people would be then afraid of. Pretty much for that, I just declare war. Just because, I mean, if it's in the budget, great, good for them. If it's not in the budget, another thing. Riot Gear for police causes intimidation, then you're obviously on the wrong side of it. Should evaluate exactly what's going on. If you're intimidated by Riot, then obviously you shouldn't be out protesting and causing damage to things.
Right. That's retarded. I mean, if it's in the budget, then go for it. Don't, cut back.
Okay.
Am I cutting out?
Coming up, then I did.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I was saying if it's in the budget, don't cut, just because it's intimidating, it's going to be intimidating. That's the purpose of Riot Gear. That's going to be, oh, look, the riot's here.
Yeah, like I can't imagine back in the 70s and 80s when, police would show up with Riot Gear. Everyone's all like, oh no, I'm intimidated by that.
Yeah. That's
like,
the job that, SWAT teams are put there for. They're there to, make you realize, oh, you just, you messed up.
Oh, it's time for me to call it quits and go home.
Exactly. I'm not going to show up with a riot shield and say, no, guys, you don't have to go home, but, we're going to have to ask you to peacefully, to keep it quiet. No, I'm going to show up with a baton and a shield and bang it till you leave.
Like, seriously, like, if I was a cop and they'd said, oh, we have a riot or a protest that's getting out of control, let's grab the riot gear and go out and show up, and you put on the riot gear and it's 20 years out of date, I can imagine not safe to go out there because of the equipment issue.
If I had to use stuff from the 80s, just think back in the 80s, what were departments using? Plexiglass shields.
Seriously. Like, job's hard enough to do with the equipment and with updated equipment. You're making it, worse. Now, Grand Harrisburg area, and this is where I don't know if it's statewide, I don't know if it was states or just Harrisburg police, but even Harrisburg police, there's not a lot to go on riot-wise. Because of the election, it's like senators are doing in government and in Congress right now, there have been a little bit of an uproar in the Harrisburg area with some stuff. And, it's one of those things, if it's in the budget, go for it, because we'll probably need to use it within the next few years or so, or whatever's going on at that time. So if there's an outrage, then,
Right.
But with that being said, that was just kind of like my rant that I had to off my chest, because if you're sitting there saying that you don't want the police to get Riot Gear because you're intimidated by it, well, that obviously means that you're on the wrong side. You need to reevaluate. Sit there and think hard about what the hell you're doing.
Yeah, if you're intimidated by something that, you shouldn't be intimidated by, it means you're doing something you shouldn't be doing.
And if somebody's not going Riot Gear because of the data by it, then I'm intimidated shit as rice burners, and they need to get off the street. That loud, annoying noise
Yeah.
hurts my ears, and it has to.
Yeah. It's, like I'm trying to I'm trying to make a like a comparison to something else, but there's nothing that retarded out there I can make a comparison to. I'm intimidated by something that's supposed to protect me. You know, it's like we always have somebody. We always have people who've never shot a gun before, and they're like, "Oh, I'm intimidated by it," because it's really loud and it's scary, and I'm like, yeah, it's fine to feel like that, but once you do it, you won't be intimidated by it, and then we'll have people that I don't even know.
Well, that's a great segment to move on to our topic, first time buyers.
Yeah.
And what you said is absolutely right. Working in the gun shop, you and me both have that experience of someone probably up to the gunner and saying, I don't know. And there's two types of people. There's people that never owned a gun before that will tell you, I want a gun to protect myself with. Mouth shut when you clear the gun, hand it to them, put their finger right in the trigger, pointing at you, and you're like, no, okay, I guess I go back to square with you.
That was actually happened to me today. A lady and her husband had come in, and the husband had shot rifles before, and the wife had never shot anything before. So I was hoping she, would have, a little bit of common sense of like, okay, never pointed at somebody, don't touch the trigger, and she was just willy-nilly and throwing it around, and that she had never shot a handgun or held a handgun before until after we started on paperwork, and I could just tell right off the bat that this woman had no clue what she was doing, and after she had her phone kept ringing, she walked off, and her husband's like, yeah, she's never shot a handgun or held one before, so sorry that she was pointing it at everybody. I'm like, loaded. She'll have more respect when it goes bang.
Yeah, seriously. Do you guys have a range there?
We do have a range. It's a little 25-yard range, but it'll accommodate quite a few people.
Yeah, that's what we had at my place. The first thing I tell people is, before I even show you more guns, I'm walking you down to the range. Pick hand-selecting guns that you want to shoot, or you're going to be comfortable with. They do the whole rental process, and I tell people, I said, I'd rather have you spend $30 to $35 trying to figure out what gun you want, or if owning a gun's right for you, than spending dollars and coming back to me that you want to try to return it, or just don't like the gun or something like that. And 9 times out of 10, people will go, "Oh, okay." You're going to have to take a little time out. You got to have to load the 4 or 5 guns you pick out for them,
right,
and whatnot. But other than that, do you get out of the gun range, the person have more knowledge of, yes, I like this, but I don't like this, and it's a whole lot of process.
Yeah. They picked out a pretty good option for a first gun. They got a M&P 2.0 9. So I mean, they I had them go out there with me, and I did make them shoot our rental M&P, so that they knew what they were getting into before we finished up the paperwork, and I went through the process of calling and waiting 6 hours at FDLE to get an approval.
Oh God.
It wasn't too bad. It was pretty quick, but I had him go out there on the range with me and shoot, and the wife was just like, this is gonna take some getting used to, and the husband was just having fun.
Yeah. Do you guys also offer training classes?
We do. We have a begin to shoot class, and we also have a advanced shooting class. we're in the process of redoing so we could add some extra stuff to it.
That's another thing I encourage people. Like we like that I worked at. We had so many different options. We had a primer class that was introduction to handguns, or actually introduction to firearms, where somebody that never held a gun, never knew about it, could take, and they would get put gun in your hands to make you feel what's the difference between a semi-auto and a revolver. What are the different types between the compact, full metal, compact. Go over every detail that you narrow what you like and don't like. You get a certificate. After every class, you got a certificate saying that you completed the course. But then the primer class, you got a gift card or a coupon that you get 20% off your first store.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then we had 3 types of handgun classes. We had handgun 1, 2, and 3. Handgun 1, just your basic how to be safe with your handgun. We had all of our instructors were great. Those guys and gals down there. One would teach you, proper grip, shooting, your stance, how to pretty much down the sights, how to be put the gun at the range, and they would go over every function of your gun, safety, sights, disassembly, and then for female, we also had women's only. We had women's only concealed carry. We had a women's only handgun 2 and 3. But yeah, I mean, they had all the different options down there. Anything from a primer class to a cleaning class to pretty much they started doing police training of like clear buildings and firefights out of your car and stuff like that.
Wow.
It's all I always encourage the people there to, go to the range, shoot and rent what you like, buy the firearm that you like, then go and take the classes and train with it and get familiar with it.
Right.
So many people come in and say, I never owned a gun, I want it for self-protection because of what's all going on in the news, this or that or the other. And then they would turn around, and then I would have to tell them, because you're owning or buying a gun doesn't mean that you're going to be protected. Do it. You have to actually go to the range and shoot it and get familiar with it.
Right.
My favorite, I don't want to kill a person, I just want to scare them.
Well, you need a taser then.
Not ready to.
Yeah. If you're not ready to use it for what it's meant to be used for, you do not need one. You're better off buying, a taser, some pepper spray, a non-lethal option, not a lethal option.
I will tell you, pepper need to get Austin on the show because they bought him and his buddies bought that little taser that you can buy at like Walmart. And they taser. And he said, even though it's a taser and it's kind of easy to make fun of, I think it does hurt a good bit. Yeah, I mean, and that's when people say I want to shoot, I don't, I'm just scared. I said, number one, you're not ready to own a gun. And number two, I hand them job worked with a firearms attorney that specializes in just firearms relations and everything. I said, call him and you why it's better to kill than to point the gun at him.
Yeah.
4 out of 10 people actually called them. And the one that did call them then later came back and said, you're right, sign off for some classes.
Huh.
I mean, I'm like, I'm not here to scare you, but I'm just letting you. Like, the thing that I like is Florida, you guys stand your ground law down there.
Yes.
Here, yeah, we have castle law, which is just same thing, pretty much, just a little bit edited. Well,
Right. The Castle Law here, the Castle Act is, I think we call it. The Castle Act protects you in your home and in your vehicle to have that firearm loaded and ready to go. Now, there's a myth/interpretation lodged for your vehicle that I think is completely bullcrap, because nowhere in the law says that you have to do this process, but we tell everybody to do it, and we tried, and our law enforcement officers try to, help out with helping people understand this. There's a 3-step process that we like to say that there is a thing where the firearm has to be encased, so in a holster that buckles, snaps or closes, and a holstered gun that snaps over in the glove compartment is fine, as long as it's not loaded and the magazine's somewhere else in the vehicle.
Wow, that's some steps.
Yeah. So not only do you have to open the glove compartment, you have to pull the gun, undo the buckle in the holster, pull the gun out of the holster, grab the mag out of the center console, put it in, and then rack it. So that's kind of the myth/interpretation of the 3-step or the Castle Act for the vehicle. Nowhere in the law does it give you a 3-step process. Very vague in what you can and cannot do. And I've asked plenty of officers this also. What is the law for the Castle Act in your vehicle? And none of them can give you an answer, because there's no law against having a loaded firearm.
So that depends if you ever have to use it. That's all depends on how the judge feels or how the jury feels.
Right. So that's when we kind of, we don't push getting concealed carry, but we kind of, if you want to, completely sidestep this whole Castle Act, get a concealed carry. If you don't want to carry it, that's fine. But if you want to keep a loaded firearm in your car, get a concealed carry, because nothing can happen to you with a loaded gun in your vehicle.
Yeah.
So, and that's, and that's something that I believe we teach in our concealed carry class. I haven't sat in one of our classes in a while. But that's something we say is, once you get this concealed carry, you can keep a loaded firearm on you and in your vehicle without the fear of being in trouble for doing it. If an officer asks you, do you have a firearm? Yes, I do. It's right here. Don't point it at them, but be like, yeah, I have it on my hip. It's, yes, it's on, in between my seat and my dash and my, center console, and then our advanced shooting classes that we have, we kind of just go over the basics of, or not the basics, but we go into more of the depth of shooting, better ways to pull a gun, how to hold it in a tactical situation, where your hands need to be, how to step, how to move. There's just, a lot of people don't understand that there is a lot of motor functions that you have to do when you're, in that situation. And if you don't train for it, even if you're at your house with a gun that's empty, you can still train, dry firing. Because you don't actually do that, then you don't have, that gross motor function, and you forget everything when, there's a situation, on hand.
Exactly. Like, you need to be so familiar with it that it's like almost when you're in sports, you don't have to think about what you're doing, you just do it.
Yeah, it's like riding on a bike.
That's pretty much, yeah, exactly. That's pretty much what you need for a firearm. The thing that you should be thinking about, pull that weapon, is this the good time? Do I have to this weapon?
Yeah.
And all of the instructors that are at my old all of the law defense or the law enforcement people that I do, even the military say it. Conceal carrying a weapon and something happens, it's not your job to stop the threat. It's your job to get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
And just turn around and run the other way.
Yep. That gun is the last ditch effort in protecting your life. If there is a threat present, but it's, not something you need to use deadly force with, then don't. If you feel as though you can handle it without using your firearm, then do so. If you're able to turn around and walk away, then walk away. There's nothing worse than doing something, using it, shooting at somebody or shooting somebody.
Yeah, that's like, I have a funny story about that, actually. Her and I, and then one of her friends that has like a little kid, we were all at McDonald's, and it was like 10 o'clock at night. We were hungry. And these guys walk in, and we're just sitting there eating, and all of a sudden, this guy like pulls out a taser and starts like zapping at our shit. What's going on here? And then he was inside. His was over how the McDonald's is set up. So it's in like a truck stop kind of deal. So his buddy was over in the next store. And then a few other people were out in the parking lot, and I'm like, what's going on? And then pretty much we figured out they were selling tasers. Up to us, and they're like, you need for personal protection. And I'm like, I don't. If I didn't actually realize what was going on, and somebody was up at the cash register with a taser, if I wasn't exactly what was happening, I could have easily drawn my gun and been like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, definitely. You need to be able to read a situation too before you react.
And it was weird because like he was up there and he was like, oh yeah, and zap zap zap. He's like, you need one. And I looked at Amber and I'm like, we need to go now.
Somebody's gonna play around and somebody's gonna get hurt.
Oh man, that was just so weird situation all around. But after I realized that he went to sell tasers, I was like, oh well, still, you shouldn't be doing it at McDonald's,
Yeah.
10 o'clock at night.
That's a fast way. That all it takes is some trucker who, hasn't slept in 17 hours to think something's going on and then to be on the news for choking out somebody.
Oh, that's just, but, so for a first time gun buyer, revolver.
Ooh. Semi-auto. In my opinion, and I have a couple of reasons behind that. What would you say?
Revolver.
Revolver. Okay. It comes down. I say semi-auto for a first-time buyer because they're a little complex for certain ones. But if I'm gonna use Glock because Glock is probably the easiest gun to shoot. You rack the sight and you pull the trigger, and that's all there is to it. It's very easy to learn how to take them down. It's large capacity. You're not having to change out every 5 or 6 shots. It's a lot easier on the trigger, so you can get used to pulling the trigger, straight and accurately. And they're just, in my opinion, they look a little nicer.
Now let me argue with you here real quick. The only bad thing is if you have a shooter and a first-time gun buyer with a semi-auto, it may take them a few shots or a few days at the range or whatever it is to get like a proper to master the proper grip so they're not having jam because they're missing.
Right.
But all that, and another thing is for them as well, it's the gun jams of whatever reason. For that, they'll have the mag release, drop the rack the slide, put the mag in, rack the slide. I mean, for people, that's going to take maybe half a second. New gunners, they're going to sit there and either panic, forget what to do. Or if they try that function, it may take them, 2.
Right.
And I mean, that's where the training comes. To go to the range and put your time into and you get that muscle memory down.
Right.
Just because they're simple. I mean, yes, you have a harder trigger. If I give you a Ruger S101, it's going to be heavier than you're going to have a heavier pull. you're only going to be able to fire 5 rounds. Don't have to worry about it jamming. You know, you can fire a double action, single action, and the good thing, I always go with the Ruger SP-101 just because I like that revolver. If you shoot it and you think, wow, a mag, fire 38 special through it. You have a really heavy gun chambered for 357. If you fire 38s, you're going to get almost no recoil because of the gun.
And you know, and that's the great thing about revolvers. If you do, you know, I've recommended to, you know, a couple of ladies lately, you know, get the SP-101 that's chambered in 357 and shoot the 38 out of it. And if you can't handle a 38, they make a 38 Smith & Wesson, which is, you know, a short special. You know, that has like half the recoil, you know. And, you know, if you can't handle that double action pull, you have a hammer you can pull back and it will go bang. So, and that's the biggest thing on the revolvers. Because not every auto gun has a hammer.
But the biggest complaint that I get from people is, number one, it doesn't see. I will fight you tooth and nail to tell you that you don't need a safety. I hate safeties on guns. They're not necessary. And they're a waste of space and machine. They say, well, I don't like the weight. For the SP1, and they go, I think, but it's heavy. And I said, well, we can adjust the trigger for you. You know, have armors, they can make it smoother, they can make it lighter. That's not a problem. You want that heavy trigger in case you're carrying it in your purse or whatever the case may be, because a lot of women won't carry. They want something for their. So, well, you want that heavy trigger pull in case something in your purse may brush up against the trigger if you're not bringing in the holster, which I never recommend. Go off back. Another thing is the weight. They'll fire the SP-101 and say, well, it's a little heavy. And then I'll give them like the Ruger, what is it? The LCRX or whatever it is. Or I'll throw them a Smith & Arrow specials and I say, okay, we'll go shoot that. And they come back and they go, well, that takes a lot. Well, yeah, you can't go with rope.
Yeah.
Better with, and they go, well, the Ruger. And I said, well, it looks like you're buying a Ruger.
Yeah. You know, I can deal with the weight over the recoil. You know, I'd rather be able to shoot, you know, a heavy gun fast, slow.
Yeah.
Because with that light gun, you're going to have extra time to be able to put it back on target on it.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
I have a gun shop gripe. I hate when guys come in. You know what really grinds my gears? I hate when guys come in and want to buy a gun for their wife without their wives there. Mm-hmm. It aggravates me to no end because they think they know what their wife needs. 100%. They know what their wife needs. And then you show them guns that, you know, have been very popular with the ladies lately. And they're like, no, that's not good. No, that's not good. And
she wants that pink Sky 9mm down there.
Or, you know, the pink Mosquito from SIG.
Oh, God.
So I had a gentleman come in today. And one of our regular customers brought him in. You know, I really appreciate when our, you know, customers bring more people in because, you know, that shows that they like our store enough to actually bring more people. And I appreciate them coming in. And the only thing that gets me aggravated is when I understand buying a 22 for your wife that's never shot a gun before because that's a great place to start is a 22. If you have no immediate if you don't have an immediate necessity to have a gun for home protection, self-protection, carry gun, right then and there, start small with a 22 and then work your way up. You know?
Yeah, I agree. Like, especially the one thing that I love that Smith & Wesson did is the Smith & Wesson 22 compact that they have.
Yeah, the MPs.
Yeah, it's the same exact thing, MP. So I'm like, if you like the MP series, start her off with that. Safety and the grip and everything under control, muscle memory wise, feel wise, and then you can just bump her up to a 9.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Exactly. So I understand people have budgets, and that's fine. I love, I can work with budgets. But if you're into the gun world and you know gun prices, you can't come in with a budget that's impossible.
I got $50 to spend.
And we have used guns, and we have used guns that are under $300. But when you need a carry gun that's very specific to what you want, as low as $300. You have to be able to reach out past that budget to be able to get what you're going to need, or that's going to work for what you need it to work for. And so he comes in and he's like, a gun for my wife, and I'm showing him, the Glock 42 and the 43, the SIG P238 and 938, and I'm asking him 380 or 9, what do you want him to do? And he's like 22. So I showed him the M&P Compact 22 and the Ruger SR 22 were too expensive, and he wanted to know what we had for sale that was used. And I showed him a P9. Was it? It's a Kel-Tec. Is it a P9?
Little
single stack Kel-Tec
plastic gun that Kel-Tec makes.
PM9.
I don't really Kel-Tec.
So it's a Kel-Tec PM9, and he doesn't want a hammer fired gun.
Well, isn't that's almost an internal hammer?
It's an internal hammer that you can see move.
It's like, it's not a standard hammer, it's like a hammer.
Right. It's not an actual hammer, it's just an internal. So he was like, I don't like that. I don't like
that. Not a bad carry option.
No, it's not.
That trigger is terrible, but other than that.
Right. It's a very slim, compact gun, and that would make a great carry gun. And he wants something for home protection for his wife.
Well,
so I'm like, okay. I'm like, so, like, and I'm like, well, what about a
revolver? Shotgun. It'd be fine.
So, he's like stuck on this Mosquito, and the Mosquito was like, I think we have it $299, and it's pink. Well,
yeah,
he doesn't like all the, because it's based off the 226, and he, at first and then I show him a revolver, a LCR and 22 long rifle and 22 Magnum. And they're both great little 22 guns. They're not really all that great for home protection. They're loud, and they'll, scare somebody very quickly. And if you got to shoot somebody, you can shoot somebody with it.
That 22 mag would hurt like a son of a bitch too.
Yeah, it would. So I show him the 22 Magnum, and because it's not the X, it doesn't have that external hammer. It has an internal hammer.
Yep.
So I show it to him, and he's like, "Oh, well, the trigger is, horrible on this thing. She would miss every shot." And this is where it gets to my biggest gripe. I'm like, "Well, yes, it's a double action only revolver. The only way you're going to get good at it is trigger control and trigger practice. Practice pulling the trigger to get any good with any kind of double action gun." And then he looks at me as if I am mentally ill and says, "That? Who has time to learn how to pull a trigger?" And I kindly took the gun from him and I put it in the case. And I said, "Sir, if you want to own a firearm, you need to practice how to shoot. Because or else you're going to shoot everything but the person who's coming for you."
Yes, and that's when you walk them to where you keep, like, if you have class printouts and you just stand at them and say, "Take these and don't come back until you do."
So I asked him, sir, do you know how to shoot a handgun? And he said, yeah, no, I've been shooting for a while. I said, have you been shooting accurately for a while? And then he got very mad at me and started to, and I said, sir, I would prefer you to bring your wife into our begin to shoot class so I could teach her how to shoot. Because it's going to be very difficult for somebody who cannot shoot to teach her how to shoot. It comes down to trigger control and trigger practice. And then
that's just a nice way.
And then we go.
With all due respect, you're an idiot.
Yeah, and then he goes back to the Mosquito and says, "Well, I'm going to get this for her." I said, "That's fine."
No, you're not.
And I said, "Well, you know, this has a safety on it that you do not have to use. You can decock it." He's like, "What's decocking mean?" It's when you decock the hammer from being cocked.
I've been shooting for a whole 2 weeks.
Yeah. So and then I went into the whole functionality of this Mosquito, and then he said, "Oh, well, this double action trigger is horrible." I said, "Yes, sir, but you can pull the hammer down, and it's a single action." A single action. Well, do you have to pull the hammer down every time? Yes, sir, you do. You do not need this gun. She will not enjoy it. Oh, well, thank you for telling me. And then he left. Break room, and I sat down and thought to myself, why do I have to put myself through this?
Like, when that knows nothing about guns comes in and talks to us, I will then literally all day with them because at least they're trying to learn.
Right.
I agree. One thing I can't stand is when somebody thinks that they know what the hell they're talking about and you sit there and you just shake your head and walk away.
Yeah.
It's the most frustrating thing.
Yeah.
Oh, God, my head hurts.
I love when guys bring in these girls to shoot. They try to act like they know everything.
Yep.
And you're just like, no. Yeah, and then you take the rifle or handgun away from it, and then you explain exactly what it is and how it works, and they're just like, huh, what? Okay.
Go
ahead.
That's like, I have seen some people that take, girls, neighbors, girlfriend, whatever, to shoot, and they do really well. And some people there and go, oh, look at that. They all up in this and that. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not grouping. Or you have groupings, but they're left and right or up and down. And I'm like, I'd rather be up and down than left and right any day.
Yeah.
Going on really the picture and your control and your grip. Person when it's that stuff. Pretty good. I don't explain range safety very well, apparently. We'll be shooting the Glock. She hasn't shot my SIG yet, but she'll sit there and shoot the Glock, and I'll have 10 rounds in it, and she'll shoot 7 of them. I don't want to shoot this anymore, and then just turn around, and I'm like, no. Gun down range. And she's like, what? My what? It's not going to go all. I'm like, you're in the trigger guard and aiming it at me.
Luckily Alex is, I guess she's got the fear of a gun in her, so she'll pick it up and shoot it and then set it down and that's it. Like, I'm done. Luckily she hasn't pointed it at me yet.
Give it some time.
So at least I know she's listened to my my range thing. Like, you always keep it down range, never take it out of the stall until you're done shooting. So really happy that.
Speaking about safety at the gun range, so the old shop. Had an accident happen. You know how it ranges, you don't have a lot of room right next to the other person. and then like in between the lanes, usually they have like some plexiglass or a barrier or something. These people were shooting at the range. It was her, females, and then next to it was a boy and a girlfriend, and the two females were shooting like a 9 or something. They load the gun, they pointed it down range, side, at the ground, and then shot the.
Oh.
The bullet hit the cement, and fragmented. The cement fragmented, went over to the other lane, and hit the boyfriend and the girlfriend shooting.
Oh, God.
Turns out that this was the first time at the gun range, the boy and the girlfriend, first time shooting guns. And the female that the gun at the ground packed her laughing, packed her stuff up, and then ran out.
Oh, my Jesus Christ.
We had the range guy, the range safety officer, had an interesting conversation with that. Luckily, we have it all on.
Huh.
Shoot the ground? Shoot the ground? Did you do that? No, I never did that. He said, well, you're a fucking liar. I have video of you doing it, and the bullet and the piece of cement came and went into their legs. Like, it was nothing serious, a few little marks, and it drew a little bit of blood. Nothing really serious. Like, when you fall in cement, you get a scrape.
Yeah.
But he goes, you're banned. You're not allowed to back again. And then the female that around said, well, I was seeing if it was loaded.
Oh.
Are you fucking serious?
It's a shame she didn't look down the barrel first.
Well, it was a Ruger SR9.
Oh.
You're on the top of the fucking gun.
Oh, people. Thank you.
Yeah. Like,
and
I don't understand.
I love teaching people how to shoot. And I'm not an instructor by any means. I know how to shoot. I know how to teach people how to shoot. Terrified. But I do go on the range with people who have never shot before, and I go over the basics of how to hold a gun so you don't get side bite. How to always make sure that it. What's that?
That's so fucking painful.
Oh yeah, it is. And an old lady. Get this. She come in shooting a 45 1911 that her husband left to her.
That's
that
pretty
she
cool.
let me look up, and it was freaking cool. It was a 1941 Colt.
Original.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and her husband left it to her, and she showed me the letter that he wrote to her saying that he wants her to keep it, never get rid of it, and to pass the letter down to the next person so that, it was awesome. And she was like,
can I be family?
And
that's a great family heirloom.
Yeah, it is. And apparently it was his that he actually used in the war.
Makes it better.
Yeah. So all original, never, and the cool thing is it was never re-armored.
Ooh.
Was in it originally, is still there. And it was just awesome to see and hold. And she was like, I want to shoot it. I mean, I can't get rid of it. Had a really funny accent and everything. And I was like, well, it's going to kick pretty hard. It isn't going to be a very enjoyable shooting. And getting her on the range, set up and just watching her lob 45 ACP downrange and laughing, smiling about it was the best part of the entire experience. Little lady lobbing 45 and laughing about it was just awesome.
That's really hard not to have on your face.
Yeah. There's very enjoyable moments to new shooters, and there's some very hateful moments of new shooters. We get it. Everybody wants to get into an awesome sport like shooting, an awesome sport of shooting. There's like chess and checker sports too.
Well, that's like the every time I go to the range, when I go to the outdoor range, there's at least one person out there that's like teaching their kids how to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
It's just awesome. Like,
Yeah.
I like to share my gun at the range. Well, with kids there, if I bring out like the AS or something, and they're just like, "Oh, that's really cool!" Like, great, here it is. Go put some lead range.
By the way, next time come down, bring some of your rifles. I found out that our local outdoor range has a 600 and 1,000 yard range.
In that case, I'll just take the Ruger Precision from on down.
Yeah, there you go.
I do want to. I want to test that thing long range. Like the range, my outdoor goes to 100 yards. We do have a 100-yard range, and if you know somebody, they can shut down their range, and you can get there first thing in the morning and shoot the entire distance of the property that they have, which I think is 400 or 500 yards. But I'll have to see what that precision can do.
Oh, yeah.
That would be absolutely.
I would love to have an RPR and 6.5 Creedmoor, or even 308. You know, they're both great rounds.
Oh yeah.
And I was talking to some guy. I can't remember what he was saying. If you set your scope at 100 yards, zeroed, and drop it 10, what is it, like? Well, it's like 7 inches, I think he said. You can hit 1,000 yards, or something crazy like that.
That's insane.
Or it was like drop it at 7 inches low, and then like 5 or 6 inches to the left, or something, depending on your windage and everything. It was something crazy though.
Oh man. Let's see. Let me just break topics here again real quick. All right. So, what would be your opinion for defense type gun?
Best home defense.
Like, you well, you would have to do it with the grain of salt. So, for example, if somebody walks in and they own just like a ranch house, say you have two people walk in, one owns like a ranch house, the other one's an apartment. What home defense gun do you go to for each person and why?
Property and one has an apartment, basically is what you're saying.
One has like a little brick, like single floor house, and the other one apartment with other apartments like all around them and shit. Like rooms and yeah.
I can answer this pretty easily, and I can go with 2 different routes for 2 different, people who want to do something different. CZ Scorpion 9mm carbine, either without a suppressor or with a suppressor. If the reason I say that is because that 9mm round, easy at 100 yards. So in that small carbine caliber, or that small carbine with a pistol caliber, great for home defense for up close and personal, and even to get a little bit of distance out of it too. Very lightweight, very cheap to shoot on all those fields.
Is that for the apartment or for the house?
Both. And that's why I was saying, if you have some land, if you can see 100 yards, I guarantee you with that CZ Scorpion and a little bit of training, you can touch somebody at 100 yards.
I mean,
it's a 16-inch barrel, so you got a full-length barrel.
Probably don't even have to aim high.
Yeah, you would have to aim a little high, for the curvature of that 9. But it's, like I said, it's very doable. And, you know, if you have property, then obviously you're going to have to go to something bigger. And if you have property to where you have cattle, or if you have, you know, even like you said, a little, you know, a single layer brick house, you know, out in the middle of nowhere or in a suburb, you know, a 5.56 rifle. That Scorpion though would be my hands down for either or.
So, well, I'm glad that we say that we're not going to recommend shotguns.
No. I'd rather fix 2 9mm holes in my wall than shot holes in my wall.
Yeah, for what I would say, Scorpion Evo or any carbine, that's actually a great choice. I actually didn't think of that. That's like, I'll be honest, I would buy a sub 2009 that takes Glock mags.
Yeah.
And oh my god, that would be awesome.
Yeah, it's easily stored, you know, in between your mattress because they're so freaking thin.
Yeah.
Beside the bed, and you know, inside your bedside table thing. Can't think of the name of a drawer.
Hornady. Things real quick from Hornady. They came out with 2 things. I think they're already out or they're coming out for 2017, 2018. Is they have I have their pamphlet here somewhere. They came with a ball hanger that locks your receiver. So you mount it on the wall, you put your gun, you lock it, the lock goes over your receiver, so your receiver is totally secure. So if you don't mind having a gun on your wall, that's a great option for that.
I have seen
and
that.
Then they came out with 2 different types of for like under the, and then they gave you an option that's car mounted. If I still had my Jeep Wrangler, would be ideal because it bolts into the back of your car, and it's heavy duty, like military grade, like secure, like metal and shit. Inserts out for the gun or whatever you want to store in there. So even if you're not using a gun, it would be a great hot box or something like that. But either way, both options, you could fit it like under your. So if you don't want a gun on the wall, the only thing you have to do is on the bed, you know, open the drawer, grab it, and go.
Right. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. But before you said pistol caliber carbine, my good option was going to be for the brick house for the rancho with land. You can use any gun that you want. You don't really have to. You know, everybody with the AR craze said, "Oh, AR is weapon for home defense and this and that." Which, because I live in an apartment, I can't use an AR for defense.
Yeah.
Even if
I mean, if your neighbors were super cool about holes in their wall.
Exactly. Like now, there's like from Personal Defense Network, they have videos out here how to build technically barriers inside your home so it doesn't go through the wall, so you don't have to worry about that. But if doing that, like the last thing I want to shoot an intruder and it go through the wall and shoot a little next door or something like that. So I mean, apartment wise, 9mm carbine, pistol caliber carbine would be, but for me, it's got to be a handgun just because apartments usually aren't very big. I can maneuver the apartment between like my hallway and room to room without actually having to work.
Right.
The only downside with that though is you actually have to train and be comfortable clearing your house with a little handgun.
Right. Well, it doesn't even have to be a little handgun. Now that you're bringing up the topic of pistols as a home defense gun, and to push this Glock 17 deal, or even an FNX 45. So Streamlight, I am a huge fan of the Streamlight TLR2s, HLs, and light and laser combo.
They are expensive, but they are nice.
They are $300+ and I probably won't have one for a while because of that price. I love them though. We have one in the store that I sighted in on a Glock 17, and I've put it on 13 other guns. Every single gun I have put it on, it has been dead set to the iron sight.
It's
from a 17 to a 19 to a 226 to a 229 Elite 5. I put it on small guns, to the P320 compact and full size. Every and the 1911s, any gun I've shown somebody, I've put that light on and they have been set.
I will say, for a practical use for your EDC, you won't be able to find a for it unless you get it custom.
Well, they have Kydex. Well, because the light's so popular and the name is such a big name, 18 or Glock 17. For most carry gun right now is the Glock 19. If you have a Glock 19 and put that TLR2 on it, there's Kydex or companies out there that have Kydex holsters specifically for that setup.
Well, and that's also what I tell a lot of people is if you're looking for a custom holster, like the shop that I work at, we used to do custom holsters. When I'm leaving, another employer said, pretty much said, "Oh, well, I can start making custom holsters again. We make custom Kydex holsters." And I tell people, I said, just because we don't have it, even if we did, we sold Kydex holsters outside the waistband, $70, inside the waistband, $50.
Mm-hmm.
Ridiculous, in my opinion. When I can say it on form anymore. When I had the holster, we had $7 in the holster. I bought it for do the math on that, Mark.
Yeah.
I tell people, I said, hey, if Amazon doesn't have, go to eBay.
Yeah.
Kydex holsters on eBay for bucks. Or if you want fancy alien gear, with a back front Kydex, I said you can get them, and you can get them on eBay.
You
100% of the time, and you can
have to buy $80 holsters. There's some guy that has a hobby in his garage building Kydex holsters and selling them for $30 because his material cost him $20, and he's making $10 to build the next one.
Exactly.
It's when you get into those names, you're getting a warranty.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I have an alien gear because everybody says that these things are great. And I will say that they're big. I have an outside the waistband SIG P320.
Mm-hmm.
It's big, but it is a holster that I have.
Mm-hmm. And that's another reason you pay money is because they're the comfortability of the holster.
I have a Vigitech for my Glock 19 outside the waistband. It's plastic front and back. It holds it really well. It secures the gun really well for plus hours. It doesn't form to your body that well.
And starts jabbing.
It's kind of exactly. It kind of gets to be a pain. It makes your the alien where it has a leather backing, so it molds and forms the body, and you could wear that literally all day. Other than it being a little heavy, it's manageable.
Yeah. My next gun, and my next gun is going to be a carry gun. I've come to the decision I can't carry my 1911.
Well, what makes you say that, Mister? I want a 1911.
I'm 6'4", and I've gained weight. I'm 260 pounds now. There's this thing on the 1911 that a lot of people don't know stabs you, but it's called a dovetail. And I got this thing on the side of my body called a love handle, and when that love handle sits on top of that dovetail, it's very uncomfortable. And that is why I can't carry a 1911 right now. Well, and
sorry.
I said I'm a 1911 guy all day. I will fight everybody that the 1911 is the best gun in the entire world, because it is. If it wasn't, the 1911 wouldn't have served as long as it did in the U.S. military. But
that's a fact. That's true.
It's not a very carry friendly gun, I should say. It's very carry. You can carry it, no doubt about it. When it comes down to it, the best carry gun, in my opinion, and a lot of people are going to hate me for this because a lot of people hate Glock. The Glock 19 is the most carry-friendly gun on the market.
Unless you're me.
I get. Well, you have birthing hips, so it really doesn't sit well on you.
I have. Well, it's not even that. I have a thing called I'm a short person. On average, I'm 5. So now it's official. I'm 5'6.5". Perfectly. Wow. Yeah. When I went to talk to an Air Force recruiter, he did my measurement. He goes, "You're perfectly 5'6.5". You want to be 5'6" or 5'7"? And he goes, "If you're 6, you're overweight. If you're 5'7", you're right on." I said, "Well, I guess I'm 5'7" then. But I'm 5'7". I'm about 170. Wait myself. But biggest downfall with the Glock 19 that I had is I get on my side carry 3 o'clock. I don't like appendix carry, and I don't like the back carry. That I had is when I go to sit down, if I'm in my car, if I'm out, if that work, in doing, something in the office, and I sat down with the back on the chair, in my car, out in public, whatever. When I sit down, the back of the gun, right where the magazine sticks out of the mag a little, that part pops out. It presses up against whatever my back's on. And it is the most uncomfortable thing in the world. And because I'm not a guy, it's also extremely hard for me to conceal. I could probably easily conceal a Glock 42, a Glock 40.
The 43 is no hands down the most concealable single stack on the market. Smaller than my iPhone 7 Plus.
XDS, I can conceal the P320. I can conceal any compact gun, but I can't do the Glock 19. If I really want to, for some reason, I could conceal the Glock 20s.
Oh, that's...
Yeah, but I would do that.
Guy that comes in our shop quite a bit, and since we're on the topic of still carrying, firearms, and this guy hit me of a John Wick fan. Yeah, he went out and spent, I think he said like $1,350 on a Terran Tactical Glock 34. It has an RMR, the gold barrel, the slide cuts, the Terran Tactical TT on the slide, frame, and base plate of the magazine. Mag, because the Terran Tactical 5-round extension. So it's 2. And he has just a flashlight on the front of it, and it can still carries it.
I don't understand why.
What do you need a 5.5-inch gun for? I understand. What?
You know that saying about polishing a turd?
What?
just on a polished turd. Now, don't get me wrong, I like Glock, extremely reliable. They're extremely well made, but they're very
Eh.
well.
I looked at him and said, "Why a 34?" He's like, "Because the longer the barrel, the bigger the accuracy." I'm like, "To where? What do you need a 5.5-inch barrel where you're not shooting somebody at 30, 40, 50 yards? You need a concealed carry situation to happen is like 7 yards. Register in your brain, do I need to shoot him? That is the farthest you will ever need to shoot somebody at. Unless you just so happily pop up in a mall somewhere and somebody's holding somebody up, across the mall.
And still
hit them.
Yeah, if that's the case, well, it's none of your business, and you keep looking.
Yeah. Try to intervene, but don't try to shoot across the mall. But
don't be a superhero.
Yeah, you use a Glock 34 for one reason only: to go out there and shoot a 3-gun competition.
Yeah, I mean, from what you described, that is ideal 3-gun.
Yeah, that's what it was built for, not a carry gun. That's like taking your Glock 30 or Glock 43, sitting at agency arms, getting it back, and then shooting a 3-gun with it.
Yeah,
it just doesn't make sense, Ron.
My brain hurts.
Anyways, I went to Glock 19 for my next carry gun.
I think I saw you.
You're breaking.
It's already got. I'll sell you mine.
Oh, well, okay.
I got some work done to it. It has the extended slide release, extended mag release. It has American back plate, and it also, well, I should say, and brand upgraded the trigger for me. I was going to get for it. Austin said he could get me some glue sights at free cost, but yeah. That's my biggest pet peeve, Glock. You made 8 all gun, but yet you just throw those stupid field goal sights.
Oh, have you seen the new AmeriGlow front sight that Glock does?
We had some in the shop before I left. They're like a Tailo exclusive.
Tailo exclusive. It's a big orange circle with a little green one.
Yeah, they're surprisingly, that's not bad. I don't hate it.
You
pretty easy to look at it.
No. You got the big black block of plastic and metal.
I mean, indestructible wise, I mean, you could probably rack a lot of things.
Yeah.
But my next gun is I finished building the AR. I have the loader pretty much complete. I just upper for it. I don't know. I want a rifle, or do I pistol? I mean, my newest gun is a P320, but I don't know what I go with after that.
Let's see.
I mean, I could go back to the roots. Like, I love my SKS, so I guess I could pick up a cheap Century AK.
Dude.
Or need an AK when I have the S.
Yeah, I would get rid of the SKS and get an AK.
Screw you. SKS is all original Imagine.
That's fine and dandy, but,
in the stock still.
Like you said earlier, you can't polish a turd.
Well, now, if you're calling an SKS a turd, I have an issue.
Have you recently looked at the SKS?
Yes.
Yeah.
Every time I open my safe.
It's a Chinese/Vietnamese ripoff of an AK-47. It is.
How are you going to say it's an AK ripoff when the SS was here first?
Because they took it from Kalashnikov's mind. Anyway, it is the 111 of the Glocks.
Bullshit. Bro, if you get an AK and an SKS side by side, I outshoot you with that SKS.
Doubtful.
Greatest thing that I actually in my safe.
Yeah, well, Taurus also said that they would come out with an AR-15 that would beat a dang fence.
That's just Taurus out their ass. After I had a Model 66 blow up in my hands, that's the last Taurus I will ever own.
You can do your SKS?
What?
Bullpup.
That's okay. I have a gun. This is the shit that really blood going right now. I hate when people take I take good firearms and screw up. Make SKS's bullpup. Putting Archangel stocks on the guns. They're not fucking technical. They don't make them fucking look cool. Ruining the fucking gun.
I have a confession to make.
I will stab you.
We had a customer bring in an SKS and an SG Works bullpup stock, and whoever did the work did a good job. They Cerakoted everything on the SKS before they put it in the SG Works stock, and they did a really cool muzzle brake and a magazine on it. And then they brought it in for consignment and they wanted $900, and we have to make money, so we priced it $1,000, and I sold it to somebody for $1,000.
My God! Right. Oh my God!
Can we edit this part out?
That's no, we can't edit it out. It's live.
Oh well. Yeah.
I'm extremely upset. I absolutely hate that shit.
Yeah, it's don't bullpup a non-bullpup. Not need to be bullpup. Don't bullpup it.
Well, apparently, I showed you that monstrosity. Remember that Mossberg picture that I think it was in a Facebook message. They made it and then linered it.
Yeah.
Sold for like $300. Like, no shit. It was hands that wasn't even good. Then it was Triner. It was fucking Rhino liner.
Oh, well, at least you know it won't rust.
That's all I just got to say. At least it won't rust.
That bought the SKS brought in a Benelli M2 and sold to us.
The M2, is that the Black Eagle?
No, the Benelli M2 is the Black Eagle is a whole different thing.
Okay, I'm thinking of something else.
Yeah, the Black Eagle is, I think, their newest semi-auto gun out there. But yeah, he brought in a Benelli M2 and sold it to us, which I will say is a very nice gun.
I think, going back, if you're going to customize and make a gun stupid, guns alone, buy a Ruger 1022 and buy some Argox.
Yeah.
Looking stuff. Before I left the store, the store manager, his douchebag gun and his 1022 with the G6 stock.
Oh, that's cool.
And
I've seen those.
Yeah, like for some, like we looked at price and it was like $400 or $500 stock itself. But
that's for the G36 kit.
Well, I don't know. I didn't look it up, but our armor looked it up and they showed me the price, and I was like, "I know it's right," but I'm not going to say anything else for the gun and the kit are complete. Well, no, I think for the entire thing complete.
Oh, with the rifle too.
think you looked it up wrong, because usually the stocks are like, what, like $30-40?
No, the G36 kit stock is, and then the 1022 is like $289. So together like $489. You know.
Okay.
Would be, my opinion, a good price.
Yeah, I mean, you can look like an make it like a G6. So if you're going to kit, do a 1022. Leave the good stuff alone. Don't modify the SKSs. Don't modify the most of the guns. And the big that I hate is when somebody takes the SKS, puts a tactical stock on it, feed the long mags like the AKs. The only thing you're doing is damaging.
Yeah, you have to cut material from the original SKS for that to work.
And I don't know if this is true. This is what Austin keeps telling me. Is the SKS isn't designed for those high capacity mags, high capacity, quote unquote, if you will. So what you're doing, essentially firing all that ammo that short amount of time through it, is you're damaging the barrel.
Yeah,
you're softening the material and making the barrel work.
That barrel, the way that the Chinese made that barrel, was a straight steel barrel. There's no chrome line, there's no melanite to it. It's a plain barrel. So when you're throwing, because originally it was 5 rounds, the little mag that has on it. So when you're throwing 5 through it and then taking a couple of seconds to throw in, put 5 more and then to send the bolt home, that's a little, it'll last quite a long while with that, situation. But the moment you throw a 30-rounder or a 20-rounder in there and you're just popping them off, bang, 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 you're hitting that barrel up. And what's happening is that it's causing an overexpansion of the barrel. It can't expand anymore because of heat, and then it just blows up.
Yeah.
And people don't understand that. Or, it'll expand to a certain extent to where it's not even holding that bullet anymore. And that bullet's just wobbling down. What happens. So it's a very easy way to lose a part of your face.
And that's being nice about it.
Yeah.
So we've been doing this a little over an hour. I have questions, and then we can wrap it up.
Okay.
Do you have any questions or wanted to add anything?
Not really. We should try to do some, review videos if that's what the popular vote would be.
Yeah, I have one up. I did a review of the wrench bag because I can take a video on my phone and upload to YouTube. Because my computer is a shitty Mac and it does not like to transfer video files from my Android. So I can't really edit anything. So it's like 8 takes.
Means, right?
What?
You should buy a legitimate phone like the iPhone.
Ew, now I buy a legitimate computer.
You have a Mac without an iPhone.
I bought it used for $300.
Ooh, that might be why you're having problems.
I'm poor. I can't afford a real Mac. All mine is the guns.
Oh, same.
Let's do the more negative questions. And you can have an honorable mention in what worst on the market. You can pick 2, be a source and a high point, and then the other one has to not be a Taurus or a height.
Go first, because I got to think about mine.
Honorable mention is anything that Taurus makes. And that's me being pissed. Here's the thing, I gotta give him credit. The PT-111, a bad gun by any means. I just don't. They have extreme. Back in the day, they had extreme quality assurance issues. and they still kind of today. Some tours like to work, others don't. Like a 50-50 shot at which one you out. They're getting better, or at least they're trying to get better. And again, that's persuasive because I had experience with Taurus. And that just goes to that you should pick out guns before you just go out and buy them. But I think the worst gun on the market that's not Taurus or a High Point. It's a tie for, because I've shot with these and I don't really care for either one. The Sky, the SCCY, the 9mm, it's extremely lightweight. It's absolutely terrible because it's a double action only. It has to be at least 8 pounds, and then the recoil of the 9 feels like you're shooting a 40. It's just absolutely insane, and we always run specials on them at the shop, and people come in and buy, and half of the people that bring them back go, "Hey, this keeps jamming on me." Usually 9 times out of 10, it's a manufacturing problem. They're pressing it. And the other gun side has to be the FMK 9mm. Scooch did a video review about it. He liked it. I've shot them. Don't. It's a version of 19. It's a little bit better lens. It's not full polymer. It's a little bit rubbery texture to it. But anything else, it's pretty much a knockoff Glock 19. It's made in the US, which is nice.
Yeah.
And on the slide, I think it's veteran owned or something. And on the slide, it says like "you for your service" or "support the vets" or something, which is
awesome.
But the sights, but the Glock, or sorry, the FMK, it's line of a 19, except for the rubber feel. You have the Glock 9 sights. They said that you could switch sights. If you can switch out the sights to any Glock 19, and it will fit 19 holsters. But other than that, the trigger pull is absolutely terrible. And I just didn't like it. I mean, I definitely give the Sky the worst gun other than the FMK.
Huh. My two, M&P 9 Shield, non-performance center, so just a plain Jane M&P 9 Shield.
What?
Hold on. And then would be the Remington. Oh, dang it. It's a 9. It's a single stack. They just came back out with them.
R51?
The R51, thank you.
Whatever it is.
The 51. The Remington R51. So let me say the Shield first because you seem pretty upset about that.
I totally agree with you about the Remington, but what the hell? The Shield?
The M&P Shield 9, okay?
The 3 most popular carry concealed single stacks on the market.
Yes, that is very true. They are not made by Smith, though.
You're correct. They're not.
They're made by another company, so they don't take the time and quality to put them together like they should. So we just recently ended the sale on them. We normally we sell them normally for $450, which is quite a bit. But we're knocking $75 off and selling them for $375 plus tax, and then you got a $75 melon rebate through Smith & Wesson, so it was like $299 plus tax. And when you get a big name like Smith & Wesson with a lifetime warranty, it's worth the buy. The only problem with it is they have the worst customer service. But I had plenty of people shooting, and as they were shooting back to the rear, so far back that it was catching to the sear and the sear in the rear of the frame.
Oh wow!
And the only way to get it back forward was slapping it as hard as you could to make it go back forward. Rounds, and on the third round it would do the same thing again. And 70% of the people who bought them had that problem.
All right, I'm assuming they're guns then. Range guns.
You're breaking up again here.
I'm assuming those are new guns, not range guns.
Brand new. Like, customers were picking them up on their third day because we have a 3-day waiting period without the concealed carry. Yeah. And they were coming to get us within 5 minutes of being on range.
Wow.
Yeah. So in the later production of that, we noticed that a lot of them were having cycling problems, and we would ship them to Smith because they needed, our armor is certified through Smith & Wesson for the Shield and the MP9 guns, but it was just beyond our knowledge of what was going on. And we put COP, like we drenched this gun in COP, and it was still doing the same thing.
That is so weird. You must have had to get a bad batch from her or something.
Well, see, that's the thing though. It was out of one shipment of them. 4 of our customers had the problem, so we sent out 4 within a week of getting that batch. Another dealer, and that batch that came in of them had the same problem.
Oh.
So 2 different batches from 2 different dealers from 2 different parts of the United States had that problem.
Yeah, they might be having some quality control issues too. Holy crap.
Yeah. So we sent them back in. It's been like 3 weeks or about a month now, and our customers haven't got their guns back.
Oh, that sounds like fuck Kimber.
So this is another funny part. They're charging our customers $45 for repair estimates, warranty.
Well, it's their fault.
So
for producing a firearm that's obviously not up to standards.
So that is why I chose Smith MP9 Shield. Center stuff works perfectly fine because Smith legitimately does the work on them.
Yeah, that's now with the story behind it, I agree. That's just unacceptable.
Now the Remington R51, it is just the biggest, shiniest turd I have ever pulled apart in my entire life. You literally have to touch your asshole with your elbow.
You're not going to get an argument from. They are a attack. They're a Jam-O-Matic. Yeah. I don't know why Remington said, "Hey, come back out with this gun."
Because they're cheap.
They tried to internally. They tried to, but it's just a design that needs to be killed.
Yeah. Their new Remington was it R1 pistol is another retarded system. The only thing Remington has going for them right now is their bolt action rifles. Even their 1911s.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my 2 negative Nancy's today.
That's I think that's going to subject. I think we stick with that. A few more cast.
Yeah.
And question. Okay, before we go on, I have to address this. So you know how you said Smith & Wesson, the Shield is not a real Smith & Wesson?
Mm-hmm.
Springfield's. Not actually, the XD series, it's not a Springfield.
No.
And this is what gets me. They came out on the market a few years ago, and they were originally on the market about like no manufacturer. And Smith & Wesson, I guess, bought them or something, like shot and said, "Hey, this is a really great idea." They bought the company. The company in production, as far as I know, under Springfield's name. The company's still doing everything, just has Springfield's name on it.
Right.
And then turn around and up the price $300.
Yes.
That's
I know
American
exactly what you're talking about.
capitalism at its finest.
I was actually actually just talking about this the other day with some of the people I work with. It's the XD series guns were a Croatian-made pistol, and Springfield had no concept for a striker-fired pistol at the time. So they bought the company in Croatia, left the manufacturing plant and everything in Croatia, stamped XD on it, and Springfield Armory, and that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, plus it's a fantastic gun. Like, I like XD series. I don't know. Part of it sickens me because if in Croatia I'm that gun manager, I'm sitting there and I made something that's absolutely great, but yet nobody wanted to buy it because I'm not a big name. It has to be extremely frustrating. But at the same time, I can see Springfield actually, I guess, the design and ownership of that model. Yeah, I mean, Springfield, as an American company, your top pistol sales definitely gun.
Right. And I completely understand why, Springfield did that. That was a smart move on them. It was a very smart move on Springfield's part. They kind of had, the M1A series and the 1911. That's all they had at the time to transition over to the XD stuff. It does aggravate me that one of my favorite handguns is the Croatian-made handgun. But it was a good move. I appreciate what they did, though, bring that firearm to the market.
So, last question here. We haven't seen advancements in firearms. Like, all firearms pretty much do the same thing. As they do the same. The biggest difference is striker fired or hammer fired.
Yeah.
So, in the future, what advancements do you want to see in the industry? Yeah.
I'll come back. Kind of like what people did with the XDE, the hammer reinvented. Yeah, I would like to. I'd like to see a more modern M1A. I don't really know how that'd be accomplished. I don't know. I'm just like fixated on the M1A now for some reason. The M1A is a great system done to it. The short stroke gas piston that it has going on, it's awesome. Like, we don't have anything though. That's the only thing. We don't have anything new on the market, so we're messing around with old stuff.
Yeah.
And where we're at in 2017 with firearms and technology of it, we don't have much room to advance other than going to a railgun system.
I mean, there's a lot of advancements firearms, but with optics. I mean, the optics now where it doesn't let you fire the gun until you're dialed in and set up an optic, and it does all the calculation for you. So the only thing you have to do is pull the trigger, and if you miss, well, that's your fault.
Yeah, you pull the trigger wrong.
But I'm a big. I can't think of it. I like my 30 caliber. I like the 30 caliber carbines. With that being said, a replica, or at least an affordable version of like the little 30. It's probably not very popular, and the replicas out there are just as much as like. They're anywhere from 1,000 to a few thousand. I would like to see one in the price range from like 500 to 700.
Yeah,
there's probably one out there. but I haven't seen one yet.
Right. I would really appreciate if somebody actually would have taken it, would take some time. I would love an M1 Garand, an M1A replica common gun enthusiasts could afford. I'm not saying, $800 for a crappy M1 Garand or $1,400 for a Springfield M1A. It's a lot of money, because it is. There's a lot of money. Where's the next person when it comes to firearms? But, a $500 or $600, M1A, M1 Garand would be my dream. It doesn't cost that much to build them.
Yeah. Like that would be the greatest thing ever. If he came out of the blue and said, "Hey, we're manufacturing old guns, like old historic guns." Right. So if you start kicking out the M1 Grands, the third carbines, some old Springfield 1980s, the Mosin Nagans, like replica versions of that, I think that there would be a market. He loves original stuff, but not everybody has the money for it. M1 Grands and things like that, they were fairly cheap. The market's kind of drying up on them from the massive bulk buying that we did back a few years ago. So now the grand prices is going up a little. Before you go them up for $140. Before
you can pick
them up for $100 or something like that. But now they're up to like $200, $250.
Well, the Mosins, I mean, oh my God, it's crazy. I hear these guys coming in. Yeah, I used to buy Mosins for $50. Well, it's $325.
Well, that's like I was with a gentleman at the first gun shop I worked at. And he goes, "Oh, I remember when you could buy the Henry Golden Boys off the shelf for like $20 back in the day." Are you serious? Yeah, apparently.
What does 1000 mean?
Yeah, it was an older guy. This was probably back in the I don't even know, probably the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Don't quote me on that. I don't know my dates. But yeah, you could pick up a Golden Boy for like $20, and it was like a thing. And I'm like, yeah, I can't. The only time I'm holding a Golden Boy is standing on the counter because I can't afford one.
Yeah, we have a Henry all brass receiver, 357 38 special octagonal barrel.
Those are nice.
My first rifle was a Marlin 3036 from 1973 that was rusted, and I paid. I'm 21 years old. I bought this when I was 19. I paid $80 for it because of how crappy it was. So my interpretation of all lever guns is they're cheap. Everybody I know.
Do you still have it?
No, I don't.
I have a lever.
I could have traded you for a Glock.
I don't want your Russ Marlin.
Oh, it wasn't rust when I sold it. I did a little bit of work to it and polished it up pretty nicely.
My first gun was a graduation gift from my dad, and I still have it. It's a Stoger 12 gauge 2500. I was down in Delaware at the time, and well, you're going to learn to shoot. And this was back in 2012. I was graduating high school. Here's a shotgun. You're going to learn to shoot. And I said, "Oh, okay." Then after we went out with Austin instead. We went out clay shooting, trapping. I was like, "Yeah, I want guns." And that was that.
It's crazy how you look at magazines from like the 70s and you see Mossberg 500s for $79.99. Remington 700s from the like mid '80s for $119.99, and you go into a store now, and Remington 700s are $600, $700, depending on what you're looking at, and Mossberg 500s are $350 to $500, depending on what you're getting into. And yeah, it's I wish I was in the '60s and '70s.
Seriously though, well, back then that was pretty much a lot of money still, but
yeah.
That I just remembered. One more topic, real quick before we go. What do you have to say about the farm industry right now?
What I have to say?
The Trump election, Remington, and there's another manufacturer that started laying off employees. I was reading a few articles with this. I was watching a few other YouTubers about it. All the articles I read and all the YouTubers that I really listened to all kind of said the same thing. The gun industry isn't big. What we had to remember is we've been fighting inflation and the Obama administration for the last...
Mm-hmm.
Now it's just kind of dwindling back to technically how it should be.
Yeah. Well, being that, I've been at my shop for 2 months now. Today was month number 2. So I haven't been, well, no, I would say I got in there right in the good time. My shop, the owners have had that place for 18 years. So, yeah, so they've had the same little bitty shop with the same range for 18 years. And they said that this summer, of all summers, because usually during the summertime, it slows down quite a bit. Everybody goes away for vacation, your usuals are never coming in, your usuals are the only ones that are coming in. They said that in 18 years of owning their shop, because they've been in it for 40 years. They used to live up in Michigan and have, a big sporting shop up in Michigan, and they moved here and of a gun shop. This has been the busiest summer of their entire life.
Wow, that is awesome.
So, thankfully, because of, our social media that now we're branching out into more, I've been, doing a lot on social media. I've been, we've been getting more people in from word of mouth. Thankfully, because of our customers. But the gun world and the gun community is starting to get, bright again. Remington laying off people. That could be because Remington's got to go out of business with firearms. They, their 700s and their 1911s, the only thing they have going for them, in my opinion.
I mean,
and their 870 shop.
Like the thing, like your shop's doing really well. What you just said. Come up here to PA, looking at my shop. The employee morale was because every time have a meeting, it'd be a company-wide meeting or a board meeting or whatever the case be. The owner just came. The industry's down. The industry's down. We have to get people in. We need the money. We need to sell things. Blah blah blah. It didn't help it. You're right. Summer is the slowest season for guns, for gun purchases and things like that. The range has picked up a lot. In shooting. The owner hasn't been doing this. Like, he bought the business back. He bought the business 6 years ago. He has no experience running a gun shop. Guns. He knows what he's looking at, but it's more he runs it with like a hangout. kind of deal. He has his gun shop, he has his gun range, and then he has a lounge. Pretty much what he does is he does a lot of consulting work. He does a lot of work. So pretty much what he does is he'll run show events. Like when Wicks 2 came out of the movie, so all the John Wick stuff. And customers will buy tickets. And key for us, we had a movie theater right beside us. Weird, but still. He would buy a booth or a theater of theaters that they had in there. People would come, they would shoot movie-themed guns. So John Wick's, you're lighting the range up with fully autos and suppressors. We did a Star Wars where we shut the lights down for the range, and those were Star themed weapons. Guys does Cerakote. He has guns that look like a swing and R2D2, and he does different things like that. And lasers on it, and we had a laser, and we did that for Star Wars night. Then customers show up, they shoot on the range, they go to the club, they eat, they drink, and then they go over the majority of the time it's the owner and other people that he worked with in consulting with that he does with or whatever. And then they're up at the range, or they're up at the and hanging out, and they come down and they go, "You have really nice clothes, don't buy anything." It's more of a store / man cave. It's more of a hangout / man cave to the owner than an actual gun shop.
Right.
Super frustrating.
Yeah. Luckily, we're a shop before we're a lounge. So.
Yeah, like I can tell you some horror stories, but that this podcast is.
Yeah. We'll have to jump on to our next podcast about, gun shop gripes again.
I think we have actually gun shop gripes. I want to get Austin on here possibly.
Yeah, that'd be awesome if we get Austin on the next one.
Or if you can grab someone from the shop, from my old shop on.
Okay. See what we can do.
You can tell some damn good stories. But so yeah, that will be podcast. Will be gun shop gripes. I'll have a new computer then. So this turns out to be all alienated. Hopefully, we can get that eliminated.
All right.
All right, but yeah, until next time.
Until next time.
Yeah, stay informed and always carry the. That was a terrible exit.
Yeah.
Exit.
Oh, that's gonna be some planning.
All right.
Well, see you soon. Live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper.